10, 10, 10. Using one straight line. One straight line only. How do you make that? Say 950. Look at the face. Everyone always does that. I was like, what the hell? 10, 10, 10. One straight line only. How do you make that say 950? What people do is fear the unexpected. And this is one of the problems in job interviews. Especially because a lot of job interviewers will do a brain teaser or a group activity. And the first thing you do, you go, oh, I can't do that, so I'm not even going to give it a try. But what I want you to do today, I want some of you to come up and get it wrong. I want you to come up, put a line on there, one straight line only, and get it wrong. So I'm going to pass someone the pen, they're going to come up, get it completely wrong, and they'll pass someone else the pen, who will then come up and get it completely wrong. So don't get it right, make a mistake, make an error. Because what I find is when people come up and get it wrong and make mistakes, they start then thinking of the right answer. Because we learn so much from making mistakes. So Melody, using one straight line only, how do you make 10, 10, 10? Say 950.
950, right. So I just write another one so in case not to not destroy yours.
Remember, get it wrong so you can do whatever you want, so I want you to get it wrong. I like that her straight line is very curvy.
Okay.
Curvy and scribbly, so pass the pen to someone else. You absolutely failed. Well done for failing. A round of applause. But that's what I want you to do. I want you to fail. I want you to get it wrong. So 10, 10, 10 using one straight line. Can I just say as well, while Lisa's coming up and having a go, I did this to Cheer while I was planning this session, and it took him 3 days to get it right. And he's co-hosting.
One straight line.
One straight line.
One straight line. I have no idea that.
Oh, you're so close. You were so close. I just should have let you look at that a little bit longer. You do learn from people making mistakes, like you making mistakes. So pass the pen to someone else, please. And if you sort of finding the answer now with the mind is evolving, and you start learning, you can, if you want to, get it right. But don't worry about getting it wrong. So,
that's the standard.
if things are a little bit... Yeah, that's the standard. That's what everyone falls into that trap. The line's good. The line is good, guys, but it's too big. You want something a little bit smaller. So pass the pen over. 10, 10, 10. Using one straight line only. How do you make it say 950? I don't want to give you a clue, but we haven't got a lot of time.
I know, yeah. Sure, it took 3 days.
Cheer, it took 3 days! And as a graduate.
You told me you're staying up late a lot as well, so I think you can do a long days.
Yeah, okay, round of applause, fantastic. I keep forgetting to clap, people keep forgetting to clap. You can clap the pen over.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, just an intro. What we're doing, 10, 10, 10, using one straight line only. How do you make that say 950? What we're saying is, what people need to do is come up and get it wrong and make loads of mistakes, because that's how we learn and that's how we evolve. And that's, to be honest, that's why we do these training sessions, so you can come up here and make loads of mistakes in this group, and then in the real interview, you'll get it right every time. So who's got a pen? Is it Neil, is it?
No, it's disappeared.
I thought you had it in your head.
I got no idea.
Not a lot of time, 950.
There you go.
Oh, nearly. The line is getting smaller. So we'll do one more. Because we've not got a lot of time, people, so we'll do one more. God, this clue can't be any more obvious. Can you do it, go? Fantastic. 10, 10, 10, using one straight line only.
What's the question? How do you make that?
Say 950.
Binary.
950?
Using one straight line.
Is it binary?
Oh, close. Pass it to Cheer. We'll let Cheer get it right. It goes on. So remember, it took Cheer 3 days to do this, and I'm hoping this week I actually can't make it really laugh. So 10, 10, 10, not a lot of time left, people.
Is it something in this?
using one straight line only, how do you make it say 950?
Oh my God.
10 to 10.
Did he tell you that?
It took me, when we were planning this session, it took me 3 days to work this out. I got an email one night saying, I got it. So, just a little bit of fun there. But it is, the whole point is like what you want to be doing now is getting things wrong, practicing, making mistakes, because that's how you learn. When you reflect on what you've been doing, when you reflect on your own practice, you should do this in your jobs. Come home every day and sort of think, like, what went well today? What can I develop? It's all about building up your own skills. And we said, I know some people come from Toastmasters, and we had a little session on this at Toastmasters last week. And one of the stats that I've learned when I've done some research on job interviews is that some people have a really good success rate at passing job interviews, or at least coming in the top 1 or 2. Where another group of people seem to just fail every single job interview. So when I went out and met these groups of people. I met employers as well, and I kept trying to find out what it was that made some people successful and other people not successful. And there's lots of different things that make you successful in interviews, like confidence, different strategies, and having the criteria that the employer wants. But what I found is that 90% of people who fail job interviews only practice and prepare for interviews for about 45 minutes.
I'd say that's what I got through the first one, but I did it on an hour and I came away doing very unprepared.
It's really common, and I do, another part of my work, I do lots of stuff on anxiety and confidence and stress, and this little formula falls into so many things, because what happens in your mind, you go, God, you get that letter, don't you, like, oh, a letter, I've been doing it for so long, and I'm so used to the letters coming through the door, it's emails now, you get that email, and your first thing is like, oh yeah, I got a job interview, you get really buzzed. But then, like, instantaneously, you're like, oh no, I'm going to go there, they're going to think I'm a failure. We all have this complex where we think we're worse at our jobs than we actually are. And that, like, plays on.
You can do the opposite. I'm overconfident because I've got so much experience.
Yeah,
that I don't care. I think, well, you know, I can do this hands down.
Yeah.
But you don't, that doesn't come across in the interview because you haven't prepared the stupid questions you have to answer.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Stupid, but you have to play the game.
Yeah, do you know what? There's a little, so you can remember this. There's like a little graph, and you have this, I think the top one is like experience, and then the bottom one is like your motivation and your sort of like ability to like put loads of effort in. And the idea is you want to be sort of like on this sort of like area, so you've got like enough experience to meet the criteria, but you're so motivated that you'll spend like the 8 or 9 hours that you should do preparing for job interviews. And people who have the experience but not like the motivation to prepare, which is what you're sort of saying, they tend to get to interviews and you, like you say, you sometimes have like cocking, so I can do this job, but because you aren't prepared, it doesn't come across, and your enthusiasm doesn't come across, and your enthusiasm actually is like the packaging on the gift, isn't it? You know, if you go to buy like a bottle of water and you sort of see like a bottle like that, you think, yeah, it's alright, but you've got like one with like glitter on it, or you know, gold flakes in it or something, or the box is like amazing with like really good fonts and colours. It makes like a massive difference, and that's why people will buy Heinz, because if you look at the Heinz tin, everything associated to it is really positive. Where you look at like Tesco's own brand as an example, it's just like a white tin in it with blue lettering on. Your emotion in your voice, your tonality, the way you deliver your answers, is the packaging around your experience. And then your example is you haven't got the experience, but you've got the motivation, the enthusiasm. You might come across really well, really likeable, but a lot of employers need to have that certain criteria. So it's trying to get that middle ground. So I'm really glad you brought up the opposite side. So what you need to do, I'm sort of lost where I was at the beginning then. What we were saying before the motivation, I was saying like some people fear it, don't they? So what happens is when you're fearing the job interview, I've got a job interview coming up, I'm going to go in there, people are going to think I'm rubbish, people are going to like find out that I can't really do the job, that I've been winging it for years, I'm not going to be able to sell myself. If you think about that, if you focus on the negativity, you're going to feel negative, aren't you? But if you focus on being good at your job, being enthusiastic, if you focus on the values that you have which relate to your job sector, you get more excited and more confident. So what you focus on, you focus on failing the job interview, you'll feel that in your stomach, and that stops you preparing. Because even preparing for the job interview gives you that same negative association. But if you focus on enjoying the job interview, making a difference in your sector or whatever it is you value in your career, then you start feeling that excitement, and that encourages you then to prepare for your interview, because 90% of successful people prepare on average about 7, 8 or 9 hours. Completely different.
I just said, I was just talking with a friend this morning, and she said the exact same thing. So she's just had an interview for a job she really wanted, and a good friend of hers that went for the same job, and she thought that she would probably get the job. But when they compared notes afterwards, my friend got the job, and said actually what it turned out was, my friend just thought, well, I can so do this job. That she didn't actually think about what it is she does that she does so well.
Yeah.
Whereas my friend did spend a whole day thinking about what do I actually do, broke it down and spelt it out, and that's why she got the job. So
Yeah.
it's everything you're saying.
Yeah, this is so true. The best applicant doesn't get the job, the best interviewee gets the job. And that's the one thing you want to take away from here. The best applicant doesn't get the job, the best interviewee always gets that job.
I could be at the other end of the spectrum. I over-prepare and I wind myself up into a complete
Yeah.
frenzy about it.
So we're opposite ends of the spectrum, because
Yeah.
I'm so unprepared, I think it.
Chris, just one thing I found when I've interviewed people in the past is people will come along very often and they don't even know about the company.
Yeah.
And that's a major failing, because when you ask why do you want to work here or what do you know about us, it's so often the case that people will sit there and they actually have no idea what
Yeah.
they do. And I think that's another important thing. I don't know if you're going to get on about that, but I just thought I'd throw that in
Do
there.
you know what research is key? I went for an interview once when I sort of been doing like this type of work about 5 years. And I went to an interview and I'm really passionate about what I do, so I do like loads of development, I go on courses, I pay for my own training a lot of times. So sort of like I had like the skills, I had the knowledge, I had the experience, I had everything. But I didn't do the research properly, or when I researched online, I didn't find enough stuff out. So I walked into the interview and I had to sit in reception. And behind the receptionist was this massive plaque saying like the company name, and it had like the 2 dates of how long the company been going. I thought, fantastic, I'm going to use that. The company's been going for 25 years. So I get in there, and the interview goes, what do you know about the company? So I said, you do this, that and the other, and I went, and I think you've been around for about 25 years, haven't you? Like dead cocky, but I like nailed this one. The guy goes, no, we've been around for like 55 years. We've been in this building though for 25 years. We had like a massive ceremony a couple of months ago. We got a plaque over reception. It's like, oh, always do your research. So anyway, I don't want to just tell you things. I want to know what you want to gain from this 2-hour session. So what is stopping your interview success? So I want you to shout out just a couple of different things. So is it confidence? Is it your interview answers? Is it being overconfident, underconfident? Because what I want to do is tailor these 2 hours to help you as individuals. So I don't want to just tell you things I know. I want it to make it real for you. So what sort of things, Melody, are stopping you being successful in a job interview?
I think as a foreigner, it always happens about when they ask you a question you don't understand what they're talking about.
Oh, right, so the actual question, you're like, what the hell is this about? Okay.
Like, for example, they put some very difficult words in the question, and if I just, in that moment, if I receive the question, I will think, should I ask what's the meaning of this word? If I ask this, I think they might think I'm not professional. If I guess, I might get the answer wrong. So
Yeah.
I think this will be something like really become a barrier for international students.
Definitely. We get like loads of oddball questions. You'll hear like Amazon or not Tesco, but like these big organisations like Google and stuff like that, asking oddball questions like, how many people buy a Big Mac each day in America? It's like, what the hell's that got to do with this sort of job? So let's write oddball questions on there and we'll cover that. So Nikki, what's stopping you being successful in job interviews?
Oh, I get them, but I think I'm overconfident.
Overconfident.
So I underprepare.
Underprepare. Okay, so preparation. How about yourself?
I think it's just confidence and just trying to properly get across what I'm trying to say. I just find myself getting lost in my head and then losing the words and just blanking.
Yeah, like, do you end up like talking and talking and talking?
No, I would start talking, but it doesn't make sense. And then I realise I'm not making any sense, so I shut up. It's just like awkward sentences.
Yeah, I used to do that going on dates. Turn up and I'm like, hey, you know, just like, what the hell am I on about? We're talking about my cat or something. But good. So yeah, over talking and confident. Yeah. Anything else?
And you know they are evaluating you, so like you're afraid to say anything that might be wrong.
So is that what you go to do all day interviews and they evaluate you all day?
Yeah, like you know, like every word you say.
Yeah.
They are like taking notes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like you're kind of nervous.
Yeah. Do you know if you do the all day interviews as well? I think it's quite clever for an employer to do that because you can do all this practice and you can prep and you can sort of go in there, but on all day, like, they're going to see different things, aren't they? Because you can't be on top 4, you can't be an actor all day. And when I did my last all-day interview, you did like presentations, you did group work exercises, you did a load of stuff. They observed you doing like coaching things, and then you did one-to-one interviews as well. So it's like this like full-on, like big interview. And one of the things they did though is provided dinner, which is really good. But when you start eating your dinner, so you eat your dinner, you let your guard down a little bit, you sort of like chill out a little bit. And then they started talking to you, and I'm thinking, this sounds like an interview, this. You sometimes have to be on it all the time, don't you, as well? So, yeah, making sure you're not saying the wrong thing. Yeah, we'll cover that as well. Do you know what? They'll say the wrong thing, but we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. Yeah. So is there anything else that people want to, hopefully you start thinking, I hope they talk about this today, or I want to know about that, or I hope this comes up?
I tend to ramble a bit. I get the question and I think, oh, I actually do a lot of prep for interviews. I have lists of questions and prepared answers, and then they ask me something and I think, I've got an answer, and I just ramble, and I'm trying to get in so much information.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it. I probably learned how to structure it concisely, because I'm just trying to throw in everything that I know, and I get to the point I kind of run out of steam because I go, and I realise I'm talking too much, and I can see they know I'm talking too much, and I kind of go, oh my God. And they kind of finish, because I'm just trying to throw everything into it. And I think questions that really throw you, questions that maybe you haven't prepared for, or you may have prepared a similar question, you don't know whether that's exactly what they're after sometimes.
Yeah, that voice in your head, don't you, going, shut up, now you said enough. No, be quiet.
Yeah. Shut up! Exactly the conversation I'm having with myself, but I can't seem to. So I think, oh, I need to tell them that, I need to tell them that, I need to put that in. Because you have such a short period of time to kind of.
Yeah, like the average is 45 minutes. You asked about 8 to 10 questions in 45 minutes. And you got to give your whole experience and all your skills and unique selling points in this really short structure. Okay. So we'll start with this one actually. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So just the first thing I want you to do then is just as a group, I just want you to shout out some like common asked interview questions, and we'll just, if we can mark a couple of these out on the board. So what are the interview questions that people are being asked, or you think you're going to get asked in interviews? Yeah, strengths and weaknesses. What was yours, Kevin?
Describe a certain situation and how you handled it.
Yeah, like your skills and your skill
competency questions.
Yeah. Okay. What did you say, Nikki?
Why do you want to work for this company?
Yeah.
And why do you apply for this position?
Yeah. So why do you want to work for this company? Why are you applying for this position? Yeah. Strengths and weaknesses. Give me an example when you've done this skill, or give me an example when you've done that. Yeah. What other sort of things do you get asked?
Tell me about yourself.
Tell me about yourself.
Simple, but a lot of people struggle to answer that
Yeah,
question.
they do, don't they? Yeah.
I'd be really interested to see what you want to say to that sort of stuff.
Why are you leaving your current company?
Yeah.
Or do you want to be?
What else? Anything else?
Why should we hire you?
Why should we hire you? Yeah. Okay. Good. So we'll write these down. So just to give you like a bit of an overview, we're going to go into some of these a little bit more detail. And these common ask ones that you all mentioned there, they're all in the ebook that I'm going to send you as well. So when you get home and you read that, it'll give you like a bit more detail. We're going to do a lot on like strategies today, where you can use strategies to make your interview more powerful, and the ebook will give you the actual answers that you can do. But just generally speaking, you tend to get 10 interview questions in 45 minutes. And the first ones are really just to get you talking a lot. So often the interviewer will tell you a little bit about their company, because this is the thing that people don't realise as well. On average, 300 people apply for every advertised job, and the interview on average 6 people for that position. So they absolutely love you. You've made it through this like massive amount of applications. They sent you a job spec, and on the job spec there's like a load of criteria, and it's either essential, you've got to have this, or we're not going to interview you, or it's desirable, if you've got this, it's like a massive bonus for us. These are the things we really want you to have, but if you aren't, and you meet the criteria, then that's really good. So you're better than 294 other applicants. So you should be like having a massive smile on your face thinking, fantastic, I made it through. All you got to do now is convince the interviewer that you're a better employee, or you can add more value to the organisation than the other 5 candidates. So what they do, because they want you, They'll first tell you about their company, about their values, about their mission, about new contracts that they're bidding for, or new businesses that they're opening, or how their company is growing as an organisation, or how they're going to develop their staff. They'll have like a little sales pitch to try and get you on board. Because if you are a really good employee, you're going to be applying for lots of different jobs, and you'll probably have 3 or 4 different job interviews or university interviews lined up. And they know that as a competitor hires you, they'll lose you as an employee, but then that competitor might make more money, might have better productivity, might have a better team because they took you on. So if you're one of the 6 being interviewed, they want you. And that's what you've got to always remember. They want you. You need to decide if you want them. That's just as important as if they want you. So they'll start off giving a big sales pitch. So they'll tell you about their company. And then to get you talking, they ask you all these questions like, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are your experience in this job sector? Designed just to get you talking, really. And then, generally speaking, you start going into this stuff about what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, give me an example when you can do this, these sort of questions that you've been talking about. And then, depending on your job sector, they tend to have really specific questions. So if you're working maybe in the public sector, or if you're working with vulnerable people, they will ask you questions about safeguarding. If you're working in project management, they might ask you strategies for project management. They start asking you sector-specific questions for that particular organisation. And this is where you need to be researching a little bit. And then they finish it off with that common ask question, do you have any questions for us? But what you need to do is predict these questions, because what you do find, they will ask you 1 or 2 of these common ask questions. But it's sort of going away from that now, because we all go on Google and put, what are the 10 common ask questions for interviews, don't we? And these are the ones that come up. So they're trying to ask you more strength-based interview questions. A lot of companies are doing strength-based interviews now. Have you heard of them before? Where they don't ask you a question, they give you 2 options and see what your preference is. It's a little bit like doing personality and temperament profiles. So they'll ask you, do you work better on your own, so do you get more energy when working on your own or when working in a team environment? Do you like starting tasks or do you prefer completing tasks? And it's really tricky actually, because most people can work on their own and can work in a team, but they won't let you answer it like that. They want specific answers to see if your personality, to see if your values match that of the company. So what we need to do is we need to be researching the company. So the first thing you do, and this is just going to be dead briefly because this is actually like really common knowledge, but you need to first read the job criteria and the job specification, because every essential criteria in one form or another will be turned into an interview question. So stuff like your qualifications, you'll get that from your job application form. But stuff about like your strengths, your weaknesses, if you can use X computer package, or the sector-specific stuff, they'll ask in the interview. So anything that's essential criteria, write that down or reword that as an interview question, because these are the questions you're going to get asked, because that's essential criteria. Now, one of the things that you can do is be really cheeky. Do you want some paper?
Please.
Yeah, sure. One of the things, just give me some paper, just in my file. One of the things you can do is be really cheeky and use the internet. So the first thing you can do is just Google Tesco or whatever company you're looking for, job interview questions. And you'll find on lots of graduate forums, and for some reason lots of mum forums, I don't know why, but on a lot of mum forums, so forums for parents, they tend to have like loads of interview questions for specific jobs. And they'll say, I've got an interview at Tesco, does anyone know what I'm going to get asked? And you'll get 3 or 4 people saying, I had an interview last week, I had an interview last year, or I work at Tesco, these are the questions I get asked. It's so good this, you're getting specific questions that you're being asked. Also use stuff like Twitter and Facebook, but maybe do this because you get an interview by a company under like an alias. But when you go on people, you can search on Twitter and Facebook under companies, so you can find people who work for the company that you're applying for. And the reason you do it under an alias in case you get the person who's coming to interview you, but basically get a conversation going with them and ask them questions. I find when I've done this with people who come for interview coaching, we've done a lot on like prepping for their interview, that people will just give you the answers. So they'll tell you what the question is, and you sort of say, oh, that's a really good question. How did you respond to that? How did you answer that? Oh, that's a really tricky question. What did you reply to that? And they tell you their answers, and these are people who've passed that job interview.
What's this, a forum where?
Yeah, so you know when you get like forums where people just post comments and stuff? Loads of them, loads of graduate ones I found, and loads of them that are parent forums. will have had people asking this question on a post, and you'll get people replying with the answers that the questions they've been asked in job interviews. So simply just Google the job you're looking for, so sales assistant in Tesco's job interview questions. You tend to get loads of job-specific questions coming up. So you've got that ebook I'm going to send you, and that's just another way to get a real insight. But basically, if it's an essential criteria, 9 out of 10 times you're going to ask you an interview question that relates to that. Does that make sense to everyone? It's just about preparing a little bit more, because I think once you predict the questions you're going to get asked, you can use the strategies that we're going to talk about now, and the strategies that we're going to get you to practice. It's just a way of predicting those interview questions. Because sometimes when you go into an interview, you sit there and you do the opening one, and you have like a really strong answer to start with, and then you ask you something about your strengths, and you're thinking, this is easy, prepare for this, it's great. They've got a really strong answer prepared for. And then when they throw in a sector-specific one, it sometimes throws people, but if you research them as well, you're just more prepared. And the more prepared you are, the more you'll come across in a confident way, the more you'll deliver your answers really strong.
I was thinking if we use the way you mentioned, like use the social platform to find the people who are working there, I think LinkedIn might be a very good one.
Yeah, LinkedIn's great actually, because obviously it's like a career social media site, and there's loads of stuff in there. You join the communities on LinkedIn, so you get on LinkedIn, join like communities for your sectors. There's always posts about job interview questions. But one of the other things you can do on LinkedIn, I'm not going to talk about this stuff because it's a bit when we do the full day course, we're doing a bit more detail, but what you can do on LinkedIn is like you sometimes get told the interviewer's name, don't you? So you're going to get interviewed. Do you look him up? Yeah. Well, one of the things I do when we look people up is look. Don't always show this on LinkedIn, but you can find people's hobbies and interests. And when I've done like research on this about helping people to pass interviews, I didn't just look at like job interview questions, all the sort of generic stuff that we're talking about now. I went more into like the psychology and the sociology of it, why people are influenced, how are people persuaded. I even read a lot of the books on from pickup artists. I came home from work one day, and I came in, and the girlfriend sat there like that. Like really moody. I was like, oh my god, what's this? Like something bad's happened at work. And so, you! What have you been up to? I was like, what? And then behind me, see this Amazon box open. And inside the Amazon box was like books from pickup artists. And it weren't, I didn't want to pick girls up. I went to learn the psychology behind the techniques they use. Because you can influence people in work using those same psychology ideas or, different techniques. So what I do, I research lots of different, ways to support people and make it all relevant to the job interview. So one of the things I learned is that people like people who are like themselves. So I've got pets and I love cats and I love monkeys as well. So if someone started talking about cats to me when I was just about to interview them, I just because you get positive associations to certain things, you spread that onto the people who are asking those questions. So you can look people up, and if they're rock climbing, cats, flower arranging, or whatever it is.
Is this on LinkedIn you're saying, finally?
Yeah, LinkedIn, social media sites, especially Facebook have a hobbies bit, don't they? Some people are very professional on LinkedIn, other people will share their whole life stories. But Facebook's got the daily posts in it, so if they're putting loads of pictures of them with a cat, they like cats, don't they?
I don't look them up on Facebook as well, never thought of that.
Yeah, and Twitter's a little bit different, but you can see people's hobbies, people talk about certain things. So you can use that. And then when you get them walked into the interview, so hi, nice to meet you, Cherry, do you want to come this way? And what you can do, so say that was Cherry doing it to me, I'd be saying, people say stuff like, oh, did you get here okay, did you find us alright? And I'd say something like, yeah, it was a little bit of a rush, I had cat hairs all over me this man, I had to get my little brush out and clean myself up. And they tend to go, oh, how many cats you got? And you go, 2, have you got any cats? And you go, oh yeah, I've got a black and white one. You go, it's called Moggy, isn't it? And you go, oh no, I shouldn't have told you that bit. But it just gets that little bit of flow, and if people like something and you like it, you get a bit of a rapport going, a little bit of a bond going. So you can use that a little bit as well.
I don't like LinkedIn these days because people can see who you're looking at.
They do.
Yeah.
Because you used to be able to just look at people, because I used to look at it. Now I'm a little reluctant to do it because they know I've looked.
Yeah.
What you can do is log out and then search. And depending on their privacy settings, you can still see their profile.
Yeah.
You don't always see all of it, though.
Yeah.
If you join it, you can actually opt not to show that.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I see people that say this person is not showing their, but
Yeah,
I've
it's an
not worked
option
out
when you
how
join.
to do
I've
it.
never joined, but I believe you can do that.
So you can do it so that they can't see that they looked at you, because I get that when people looked at me.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
don't know how you do it.
Yeah, we'll have to research that actually. If we find out how to do it, I'll research it this week, and then if I find out, I can send it to everyone, because it is quite a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Because the other thing as well, it's got, especially LinkedIn or people who are very professional on social media, because loads of people now have learned that you've got to have a professional online presence, haven't you? So have like a made-up name for your social stuff, but then have like a career one online. And what you can find on that is people's values. So if someone's doing like a very professional online profile, you're the person who's going to interview you, and they're always talking about solving problems, or they're always talking about like goals, achieving goals. What you find is people have like a value. So people who talk about solving things, getting away from problems, making amends from errors, you want to talk using that sort of language in your interview. So instead of saying I'm a goal setter, I'm an achiever, you want to talk about I'm a problem solver, that I look at things and I can react to it positively. Where if someone's really sort of more forward with their motivational style, they're more goal set, more orientated, they're more sort of proactive, you can use that in your answers, because then you sort of speak their language. So you're goal orientated, so am I, so we will work well together.
Just solving your LinkedIn problem there, the other way you can do it is just create a fake profile.
Yeah.
And then they don't know who you are.
Yeah,
so just use it, you register another email address and make a fake profile on LinkedIn, because they'll never detect it.
Definitely, yeah. And it's just these little strategies that sometimes help. So the main thing about today then, we want to give you some strategies to help you answer your interview questions. And then towards the end of it, we're going to talk about like oddball questions as well, which Melody wants us to talk about. And I'm going to do some confidence, like really boost your confidence. So I don't know if you know, but I'm like a qualified hypnotherapist and do like loads of NLP stuff. So I'm going to use some of the techniques that I find really powerful that people can do in their own. So we're not going to hypnotise you. But I'm going to teach you some techniques that you can use that will just boost your confidence a little bit more. Because I find you can be really confident and have no strategies, or you can have loads of strategies and have no confidence. And for me, in the job interview, you need a little bit of both. You need to boost your confidence and have some strategies to rely on. So the first technique I want to tell you is a 3-step process for interview, for answering interview questions. And it goes like this. Step 1, answer the question in the first line of your answer. Step 2, give a real life example which backs up that first statement. And then step 3, you can either explain how you can use your skills to help them in their organisation increase productivity, increase profits, or what you can do is just summarise your skills. Step 3 is good, you don't need to do it for every interview answer. So let me give you some examples then. So what questions have we got on here? So tell me a little bit about yourself. So that's quite a hard one to use this structure with, because it's not like have you got experience in a team, or can you work on your own initiative, or give me a time when you was really creative. But you can still use this same structure. So if someone said to me, tell me a little bit about yourself just to get me talking, I don't sort of go, oh, I've got a cat called Colin, he's really cute, he's black and white, or you know, I like going walking in the hills. Because some people do that just to get themselves talking, to get that nervous. And interviews are happy with, like, they sort of go, yeah, you know, talk about what you want. I'm going to start asking you specific questions soon anyway. But no, bam, give it to them straight away. Make them really like you. So what I do is summarise my whole experience in that first sentence. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I've got 15 years experience helping people to be more successful with their careers. I'm qualified to level 6, which is the highest IAG qualification in my industry. And I've got a massive successful record of overachieving government targets. So with there are 3 things that employer wants: experience, high qualifications, and someone who can achieve targets. They're going to go, well, I'm going to listen to the next thing you say. So what you need to do is, when you're answering that interview question, is state that you have that skill, strength or experience straight away. Because I'm not telling you a lie here. Interviewers, and I've interviewed interviewers asking them what works well, what doesn't work well, why do you like certain people who have got no experience compared to someone who's got experience. And one of the things that come out is that interviews often get bored, especially if you're getting interviewed in the middle of the day or towards the end of the day. The last one, actually, get interviewed first or last is the best interview slot you can have. Because he asks the same questions over and over again, give the same selling point to try and get you to like their company. And generally people respond with very similar answers. Because I'm interviewing 6 people who've all got the experience, all meet the criteria, they all got the same sort of temperament and skills. People tend to use very similar answers, where you want to give something a little bit different. You've got to have like a unique selling point, something really different about you that makes you stand out to the crowd. So they say, God, if I don't hire you, I'm really going to lose out. Or if I hire you, I'm going to get X, Y, and Z. So you need to be giving it them from the start. But it's matching what you have to the job criteria and then giving them something else. So answer it straight away. Give me an example when you've worked in a team environment. In my past 3 previous roles, I've worked in a team environment. You're saying, I've got it. Whatever you want, I've got it. Have you got experience using X ICT package? I've got 10 years experience using this ITC package. I'm actually one of the designers of the ICT package, or whatever it is. You need to make them go, right, I want to listen to what you're going to say next. What a lot of people do is have a very generic opening answer, and people just get a little bit bored and it's a little bit waffly. By the time you give your example, they're not even really listening to you, they're daydreaming about Colin the cat. The second part then is then giving that example, so a real life example. And what we'll do after this technique, I'm going to give you a strategy to make that example really strong and really powerful. But you need to back it up with a real life example. So an example of this is when I work with X client and I did this, or an example of this is when in a team environment I took the lead and I achieved this objective. So give them a real life example. And then finally we finish it off with either talking about how we can use that skill to help their organisation. So as you take me on, I can use my experience to help you overachieve your target. I've got a couple of strategies I'm going to share with you later in the interview that will tell you how we can together achieve the objectives set by your contractors. Or in all my roles, or just to summarise, in all my roles, I've always worked in a team and I generally take the leadership role. I'm very good at encouraging people as well to sort of join in, and that's one of my strengths. So you just adding like little tweaks all the time. You're saying, I've got that experience, here's an example of me doing it, and you take me on, here's a summary, or here's what I can do for your organisation. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah? So what are the 3 steps then? What's the step 1?
Answer.
Yeah, answer it straight away. Step 2? And then step 3?
How it can benefit their company.
How you can benefit them. Fantastic. So what I want you to do first, just want you to split into 2s. I think we have got even numbers. And just pick any sort of question, or just ask any generic question, not like a really tricky oddball question, but something like, tell me a little bit about yourself, why do you want to, not why do you want to work, something more along the lines of, do you have experience working in a team, or do you have experience working on your own initiative? I want you to ask each other a question, and then respond using that 3-step process. But like we did 10-10-10, get it wrong, make mistakes. Because what some people do when we do this exercise is sort of go, oh, hold on, let me just think about this for a while. I don't know, like, Chris, what are the 3 steps again? And then it's still, just waffle out, get things waffling out, because when you start talking, the structure will start coming to it. Because we're going to go back to these techniques and structures all the time, they'll get embedded into your subconscious. So what I want you to do is ask a question, and then if you're the interviewee, just get talking, and don't worry if it goes off, or it's a little bit waffly, I just want you to get talking. But try and think about answering it straight away, yes, I have it. The second one, give an example, and then if you want to do the first step, you can do so. The way I can use this skill is by doing it in your company. And what we'll do, we'll write it on the board, the 3-step structure for you. So are you guys happy to just mix yourselves up? Yeah? So just sit next to someone, and then ask a question, and we'll go to the answers. Me and Jill will walk round as well. Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody.
Does it just solely focus on it?
No, it talks about different companies.
When I do training, I love it like, also like you guys are like chatty, asking people. The last time we did this, last month back, we did it in MMU actually. We did it to like a massive crowd of people, I think there was like 80 people in it, in this like massive view, and everyone was like dead chat. I thought, God, this is going down dead well. So after like about, I thought, oh God, they're talking, I'll leave them to talk, because you know, you do it, you get more out of it than me just talking, to be honest. It's all about practice, practice, practice. So after about 15 minutes, I thought, oh, I'll go and mingle, so like walked up the alley, like feeling dead confident. No one's just talking about like holidays, or no one's talking about the technique, you know, it was like up and down. Thought I was doing really well. But yeah, thanks for all participating in that. So what are your experiences? Any feedback on that? Did it work well? Did it not work well? What questions do you have?
It's quite that first, I think the middle one tends to be the easiest in some senses. Because I do my prep, so I have examples for everything. Sometimes it's about that summary, because I think we both said, I have a lot of experience working in a team.
Yeah.
And? So it's, you know, But you know, I do. I mean, that's what I do every day. And then I went into my example. So I always wonder whether I should expand that first bit a little bit. And you said, obviously, if you don't know, if you haven't done research in the company, there is no way you can answer question 3. Because you don't know how your skills are.
And that's like research is like massive. Like for me, the first 2 bits, and just the next strategy is using this in a better way actually. But the first 2 bits are like key. If you answer it straight away, they want to listen to you. If you're saying you got the criteria they want, where loads of people will be like, yeah, teamwork. Yeah, you know, I like working in a team, but I do work on my own, and it's start answering a completely different question and talk about working on their own. And that's why, if you state it straight away, it focuses your mind. When people talk about over-talking and waffling and not knowing where to stop, for me, the structure just gives it a little thing to sit into, and in your mind, you know the 3 steps, it stops you going on. So, answering it straight away is just like a must for me. The example, like I said, a lot of people, especially if you worked in your sector for a long time, can answer that really well. The next strategy will give you a better way to tweak that.
So is it enough to say, yes, I've worked in my current company for 10 years, I've worked in teams for much of that time. Is that enough?
Yeah.
And then go on to your example?
Yeah, definitely, because it's just to stop you from answering a different question, which loads of people do, or to stop you from having like a really waffly induction, which is the other problem a lot of people do. And they'll go, teamwork, yeah, well, in that together everyone achieve, like just start like saying like really rubbish stuff, where you want to be just like, yeah, I got that, here's me telling you I got that, here's an example to prove I got that. There's lots of people as well, if you do answer the other question, it just throws the whole interview, because in your head you'll have that voice saying, what are you talking about? You want to avoid that. The ending, the reason why I like step 3 is because it does end that interview answer. You know, you've got step 1, step 2, step 3, and it stops you waffling at the end of your example as well. You don't always need to use it, but if you've got like a massive unique selling point, so you're talking about an ICT system, and you're just like the best at it, by saying, look, if you hire me on, I can use this system to manipulate this data to get this information, or whatever it is for your sector. Or, if you are really good at overachieving targets, or you are really good at solving problems, if you state your unique selling point, look, I can take this and do it in your place. So hairdressers as an example. One of the strong things about hairdressers is, if you're really good, you tend to have like a bit of a following. So no matter where you go and work, you'll get often about 60% of people who get haircuts by you following you to that new salon. So you can have this thing where, oh yeah, I've got 10 years experience as a hairdresser. An example of this is, or some of the things I can do is styling, curling, or whatever techniques people use. And I got about 100 people who are sort of on my list, and I know that if I move to your salon, that at least 70% of them are going to come over with me because they're really loyal to me because I do such a good job. And they're thinking, I'm going to pay you 25 grand, but you're bringing over 70 people and we charge, I don't know what is it, £99 for a haircut?
Expensive haircut.
That's what my girlfriend always asks me for, she'll like it. If you can say you can bring this over, they can see that they're going to make money off you straight away, so they might as well hire. Or if you're like getting interviewed for a company who's like not doing too well, and it's like they're trying to get a project manager in as a last minute thing to sort of turn around the company, and you're saying something along the lines of, in the previous 2 companies I've worked with, they've been on the brink of bankruptcy, and I've got a project management strategy that I've embedded into both of these companies, turning around and making them into multi-million organisations. People are going to want to listen to you. They've got a problem and you give them the solution. That's your unique selling point. They're going to want to listen to you and they're going to want to hire you. And that's what you're getting across all the time. So even if you're working, like my background's all about supporting and caring people, and it's dead easy for people to get someone on a college course or to get someone a job or to help someone with an interview. But loads of people go into college and then drop out because it's not the right course for them, or get jobs and it's just not the right environment for them. So my unique selling point was, I always get people into stuff, but they stay into it. The retention is really strong, and that used to always get me job offers because I knew that these clients would go into something and stay in there, and that was like the end of what we did. So it's thinking about what would really impress that employer. If you've got that skill, that technique, that knowledge, that experience, you need to be saying how you can use that in their organisation. And sometimes when you do the summary side instead of that future pace, it can be a little bit, not like a very strong thing, but in your mind, it gives you an end to your answer. So just to summarise, yeah, I have worked in teams for the last 10 years. So you're saying, I've worked in teams for 10 years, here's an example, and then, yes, I have worked in teams for 10 years. And that just ends it and stops you over talking. So I like that structure, but you don't always need to do that. And for some answers, for some questions, it's pointless doing that. But I like it because it just gives you that structure, that flow in your mind. I said it, here's an example. Now, to shut myself up, I'll just summarise it. I can do this, or I've got knowledge of this, or like I said, I've got 10 years experience in this. It just ends it for you. And then you count to 2 in your head. When you count to 2, they'll start asking you the next question. It's a really good technique, that, actually. Always count to 2 after sentences, or at the end of your answer, count to 3 or 4, because what loads of people do is go, and to summarise, yeah, I've got about 10 years experience working in the team, and they look at you, and then you go, and they can work on me, and you start answering like other questions or saying other things, because you get so panicky that the interviewer is not saying anything, but they need time to like write their notes and to score you, don't they? So you need to like count in your head. It stops you from then starting to talk again. It stops that over talking.
As well, as long as my hand's not all over the place.
Yeah. Water is a really, really good one. Yeah, definitely. Has anyone got any other questions on that? So, Kayula? Sorry.
Yeah.
Kayula. She was talking about body language. So she said when you sometimes answer interview questions, your mind might really focus on what you should do with your body, your facial expressions, and your arms, and all this sort of stuff. And they say that interviewers make an opinion about you in the first 10 seconds that you walk into that interview room. That's rubbish. It's in about 0.10 seconds. People make opinions like that. As soon as you walked in here and you see me looking really cool in my suit, you had a positive opinion about me, didn't you? I like that you're nodding. Thank you. You're the only person who's nodding. Everyone else was like, cool suit, what the hell is that?
I'm of the opinion, I don't care what kind of company it is, if you're going for an interview, you're suited and booted. And a lot of people disagree with me, and I said, but I don't think that, even if on a day-to-day basis everybody's in, jeans and t-shirts, at the end of the day, I think they immediately walk in. People, we like to think you don't judge, but people do. As soon as you walk in.
And your mind as well. It's not just how you dress. It's like your stance, you walk, when you shut the hand, because that's when you generally meet them, isn't it? And your body language, everything. Like it's just so much stuff. It's filtered into that instant opinion. And you can change that, to be honest. It's not like that's my opinion. It's stuck forever. But one of the barriers is when you sort of focus on that side of the stuff in the interview, when you focus on stuff like your body language and your gestures, you can overthink that too much, that you don't do the structure for the answer and you start waffling a little bit more. When we do the confidence thing at the end, it's a real good technique to help you feel more confident and less anxious. And when you're less stressed, you'll naturally talk. Anyway, but people naturally talk with their hands. So if you can get to that state, you'll naturally be in control of your body language. Just a couple of little techniques, just because someone asked this when we was going around before. If you are fidgeting and you are a little bit nervous, like if you're at a desk, you can put your hands under your legs, which will stop you doing that. But when you use the structure as well, that'll take away your nerves. You focus on step 1, step 2, step 3, and that's when your gestures will come out naturally as well. One of the things I used to do ages ago when I used to be nervous is when I sat down, I used to clasp my fingers like that under the table, because you have to like consciously undo your fingers to move it. So when you're nervous, you start doing all this like a little bit, like sort of hugging yourself to protect yourself. Whereas you sort of like that, you have to consciously undo it. You tend to do that when you're going to express yourself. So I would either sit on my hands a little bit if you can't see, or clasp them together. But if you use the confidence stuff that we talk about at the end, that'll help you relax enough so you won't need to focus on that. Just a couple of things. If the interviewer's doing that, by the way, they're bored, they get really bored. So if you see him doing that, but you just doing that, Neil? So you need to do something a little bit different, like pointing it out to him, or maybe or change your tone a little bit, but you just get to listen to you a little bit more. Okay, so the final thing just on the answers is the story part, the example that you give. Now, for me, this is like the main bit. You answer straight away, blah, 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 I'm going to listen to you. What you need to be doing is getting the employers to be really invested into what you're saying, because the more they listen to you, the more they take on, the more they're going to want to hire you. And if you can get people emotionally involved in you as well, so they feel excited about what you're saying, excited about what you can bring to the company, if they feel good about you, they again are going to want you to recruit you more. And this is why people who are really experienced but not passionate, what we talked about at the beginning, what Nikki brought up at the beginning actually, that's why people who are better qualified and better experienced in that position don't get offered a job, because they don't use the tone, they don't use the stories, they don't use intrigue, they don't use the strategies to come across really well. And I know some people in here do a little bit of public speaking. It's the same sort of strategies we use in there, where we open up our interview answers or our presentation with like an opening, give like 3 points about ourselves and then summarise it. It's a very similar strategy to your interview question. And when you're doing presentation, you are using your gestures, you are using your tonality to get people to listen to you, and you are looking at individual people. So if you've got 3 people interviewing you, you can use these same techniques to look at individuals, to get them to listen to what you're going to say. So there's 2 ways to open your example. So an example of this is you can create some intrigue, so they're going to want to listen to you. So that could be anything from like, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the example. I'm going to give you, I'm going to tell you the time about when I've made like this multi-million-pound deal, or when I solved this big problem, or when I turned around the team, or when I got the company on the brink of bankruptcy to be a multi-million-pound company. If you have like an opening, I'm going to tell you this amazing thing. It's going to be really, really interesting. The example I used the other night was from my client work, when I said, he told me that he said, he was going to, I'm going to tell you the story about when I landed, I think it was a £1 million deal while saving the MD's life, because when he did this thing, like an MD had like, not a stroke, but like, I think it was an asthma attack or something, and because he needed first aid, he did it. But that opening line's like, what? It's like a pattern interrupt, isn't it? Everyone's getting a little bit bored, I said something a little bit different, and it's like, oh, what the hell is that? And then you give your explanation. But the mistake loads of people make is to use generic explanations, and they use the we instead of the I. So what they tend to do is say, the company did this or the company did that. So if you're using a second way to open it by giving a problem or a goal, so I'm going to tell you the way I solved this problem, I'm going to tell you the way, I'm going to give you the example when I achieved this goal. What you need to do is tell them what you did, because loads of people on a trip are saying, the company did this, the company did that, and the company had this outcome. You need to make it specific to what you added to that team. And it doesn't matter if you was part of a really, really small part of that team, and you know, some other people may have had a massive influence into that outcome. But if you state the problem or goal, and then tell them what you did, no matter what that is, and then give them the outcome, they will associate that what you did had a massive impact, either it did or if it didn't. And that's the secret to this. If you're saying something, you're trying to get across something that you've not got a lot of experience with, or you're part of a project but you didn't do a big thing, you answer it more generic, where you've got a key skill, a key unique selling point, or you as a main part of it solving a problem, achieving something, or whatever your sector outcome is, you've got to give specific, explain what you did. So the problem was that we had to solve this debt. What I did to solve this debt was first, I analyse the situation or the data or whatever it is. B, I put this plan into place and then give an explanation. And C, I motivated the team to take action. Or whatever it is suitable to your role. But think of the things that you particularly did, the ideas you presented that took on, the actions you took, the way you motivated teams, the way you analysed information or data, the way you mentored different people. No matter what it is, you need to be saying, I did this. And they'll think that because you're stating that if you didn't do that, the company won't get the outcome. And then finally, and no one ever does this actually, state the outcome. Goes, oh yeah, an example of this is, there was a problem, I did A, B and C, and that's pretty strong anyway, but then if you give the outcome to what you did, so the outcome to this was like the company made more money, or the company solved this problem, or the company grew inside, or the team had a new set of skills that actually helped us achieve this new contract obligation. You want to state the positive outcome to what you've done, and that's so powerful. Problem, solution, and outcome. The problem or goal, the steps you took, and then the positive outcome. And that's the second 3-step process. And you can use that as an interview answer on its own, or you can use it in this one, answer it straight away, and then in the example, add those 3 steps into your 3-step interview answer. Does that make sense? So again, I want people to ask each other a question. So the question is, give me an example. And let's just use something how you, quite generic, how you achieved an outcome as part of a team. So just ask a team-based interview question. And I want people to either use something really intriguing, something to capture someone's attention, or state the problem you had, or the goal the company wanted you to achieve. But the key thing I want the listener, the interviewer, to listen out for, are they saying that they took action? Are they saying we, or are they saying I? So feed this back to them, because it's got to be, I did this, it's more powerful. And then the second thing I want you to look out for, are they saying what happened after they solved that problem or after they achieved that goal? Because the outcome is the added value. It shows that if you take me on, I can do this in your company and we'll get similar outcomes. So you can either use intrigue or set the problem and goal, explain what you did as an individual, and then state the positive outcome. That makes sense? Yeah? Fantastic. So you want to get back into your twos, and we'll give that a go. And again, if you're not sure, give us a shout and we can come round and chat and work through it.
That book's definitely
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, get you one smoothly. So it's a bit of an unusual situation.
So obviously we were to have a workshop, we were also trying to introduce you to some new ideas, some new techniques. And like I said at the beginning, if you've got personal things that you think how do we frame this or how do we word this, email me, I'm going to sing that ebook as well. But the structure is just to give you some focus so you don't over-talk, you've got like a little bit of a strategy. It's really important to have that end bit where you're always talking about the positive outcome as well. It's really key that it shows exactly what you did to make a difference and the outcome to it. So Mo was saying, like, if you're answering the teamwork question, which I asked you all to sort of use as the example, is when you're talking about don't that take you away from like the team approach, which is what the question's all about. And it can do. And what you always got to think about is, what does the employer want to get from you? When ever they ask you an interview question, if you've got something prepared and well rehearsed, that's fantastic. But if not, if it's like an oddball question which we're going to talk about next, you need to be thinking like, what do they want to get from this thing? So with a teamwork example, it's not saying like, oh, I did all this stuff. It's showing how you make an impact on the team. So your example might be, we had this problem to solve or this goal to achieve. So what we did first as a team was sat down the table to discuss ideas. What I did is, I noticed that some people weren't joining in, they're quite introverted, so I started asking them direct questions to get them to join in. I also presented several different ideas that we all discussed. And at the end, because I was presenting ideas, challenging other people's ideas, getting some of the quiet people who knew had loads of experience in this, getting them to talk and share their ideas as well. As a group, as a team, was able to come up with a really good plan. And when we put that plan into action, it exceeded our expectations. We had such a good positive outcome, which was, and then you give back your outcome. So what you're trying to do with everything is just focus on your skills, your unique selling point, and your experience. That's the whole point of this really. You've got the structures, you've got the questions, you've got your research, but everything's about getting what you can add to their organisation across. And if that matches the essential criteria in the job application specification form, then they're going to want you, aren't they? If they like you already, you're saying I've got these excellent selling points, these unique selling points. And hopefully some of you in here have got stuff that other people in your sector won't have, an experience, skill or strength, and you get that across to them, they're going to want to hire you, and that's what it's all about, getting the focus on you. Always get the focus on you. It's so easy to do, the company or the we. So anyone got any comments, anything you want feedback about that technique?
Yeah, one thing I was just saying is a positive outcome can actually be a negative outcome in some. So the one I used, actually some people would have seen it as a negative outcome because we lost 2 volunteers. But actually at the end of the day, losing those 2 volunteers has actually improved the way the group runs.
Yeah.
So while some people would say, well, that's extremely negative because you lost the 2 volunteers, you weren't able to resolve the issues you had with them, actually at the end of the day it was a much better outcome for us because the group works much more effectively now.
And you need to state this, because if I'm interviewing you and I'm a bit tired, a bit dry, it's a warm day, or I'm interviewing everyone, or even when I'm dead interested, to be honest, in my experience, you saying getting rid of 2 people, I go like, in my experience, when I got rid of some people and it had like such a bad effect, they'll put their own experience associated to yours. So if you state the outcome, so the outcome was, we got rid of these 2 people, and what that achieved was, and then give all the positive stuff, that's why it's got to be an ending, a positive outcome. This achieved A, B and C. They can go, right, that makes sense, but don't leave your interview guessing at anything. Make sure it's clear that everything you do has got a positive end to it. So managerial roles are really bad for that, because sometimes you do have to take people through redundancy processes, you have to pull people up for their mistakes, you have to try and retrain people, and you want to make sure it's clear that what you did was the best outcome for that situation or for that problem. Yeah, so it's a really good example. Anything else on that? Do you find these easy, these strategies to embed?
It's just a really useful structure to have, and now I can see it written on the board like that. It makes me realise how much they spoon-fed me at that first interview. So she would say, the outcome was, oh yes, it was, that X, Y and Z happened. Yes.
You can see him kind of going.
So she obviously wanted me to do
Yeah.
well, but now I think it's obvious what she was after.
Yeah.
Because I'm not familiar with the techniques, I can see it now and I think, yes, that does work, I can see the point of it, yeah.
You know, it's so many interviewers are really good like that. I love interviews like that. Always remember as well, we talked before about being nervous, didn't we, in interviews. Always remember, most interviewers are really, really nervous, and a lot of interviewers haven't been trained to interview as well. And you can see them sometimes like more nervous than you, like shaking or stuttering a little bit, using ums and ahs, looking at the colleague to try and get like a bit of confidence from them. Loads of interviewers are nervous, and when you know that, it gives you a bit more confidence as well. When you can see that. Well, I always look at people's nerves when it was being interviewed, because it gives you more confidence as well. But what they do though, generally these days, for equal opportunities, is they score you. So every question will have, as an example, 10 marks, and they'll score you. And if it's a panel interview, they'll all score you, and then they'll put all that together and divide it by 3. And if you don't say certain things, you don't get scored. And good interviewers will ask additional questions to draw out of you, because they know you've got the skills. That's why you're being interviewed. They've read your CV, your application form, and they want you to do your best. And we all know that the interview situation is a very nervous and weird situation unless you get interviewed all the time. But actually, I always loved interviews. I don't know why. I think because in England, you're not allowed to say nice things about you. You were saying this before, but you can't say nice things about yourself. In an interview, you can say amazing things about yourself. When you go on a date, you can't go up to like a guy like, I'm really attractive, I'm really funny, I'm amazing, you should definitely go to me. But in an interview, you can't you? But don't ask him out at the interview, it's really awkward. But you can be really positive about yourself. It's not you can be really positive about yourself, you have to be really positive about yourself. Because no one else is going to walk in down and say it for you. So always be 100% positive.
I think buzzwords as well. I think if you can do some research in my organisation there's been a lot of restructure recently, and there's real buzzwords in your like stewardship and things like that. If you want something done, you have to talk about stewardship now. And I think if you can learn some of the language of the organisation, start kind of throwing that in, I think that's
definitely. I find as well, if you're applying jobs in the same sector, you tend to know the buzzwords. If you move in sectors though, especially if you're doing something like a managerial role or a project manager role where it's just your skills that will help you jump to different sectors, you need to learn the buzzwords, because those buzzwords have got like an emotional impact associated to them as well. So yeah, if you're moving sectors, getting into something brand new, university interviews as well, use the buzzwords, definitely, it's really good advice that. And Kevin, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's good to show that you're confident, but I mean, I don't think it's good if you're overconfident, or if at a certain times you're just blagging it. Or telling white lies. Because sooner or later you might get found out.
Yeah, definitely. And I find as well, like we did with like graph at the beginning, like if you're overconfident and not enthusiastic, it's just not a good combination. And if you do loads of white lies, or you know, I read a book called Snakes in Suits. Anyone read that book? Yeah, it's like psychopaths in businesses. So 1 out of 4 people are psychopaths. We've got 2 psychopaths in here, apparently. But psychopaths aren't all serial killers. That's just like a genetic negative thing we have about them. Psychopaths are people who can put themselves forward, who can be really confident, who some of them, if they're extreme, will blatantly lie to get where they want to be. So in a job, you'll find that loads of managing directors can be psychopaths, or so this book states. But one of the things they do well is they're very confident about themselves, they're very open to sell themselves, and we need to take that. We need to take that and be confident and sell ourselves. But if you do lie a lot and you get the job, you're probably not going to like it. So for me, it's harder because you sort of get a job because you're either like desperate for money, like a salary, or you hate the job you're in, or some people don't have this because they job hop quite a lot, or they only apply for jobs when it's something that interests them. They don't always look for work. But if you're in a pressured situation, you feel like you should say anything to get that job offer. But often people do that, get the job, and then it doesn't suit them, and then they start job searching again, and the pressure builds, and they fall into like a bit of a negative routine. So I agree actually, Kevin. I think be honest, because this is why some companies are doing strength-based interviews now. As soon as your temperament, your values meet that of the company. And for me, it's great, because if you're the interviewee, and it does, you'll go into there and you'll do really well. If you don't get offered a job, maybe it wasn't the right company for you. And if you're going to job hop every 2 to 3 years, which most people do actually these days, then it's not such a big thing. If you're the sort of employee who stays somewhere for 10 years, you want to make sure that organisation's a really good suit for you. So yeah, I think that's really good advice, that too, Kev.
Chris, just one thing on your job hopping thing. One of the things I used to look at is how often people job hopped, and if they job hopped too often, like every 6 months, I just throw them in the bin.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'd look at them and think, by the time I've taken I've interviewed that person, I've taken them on, I've trained them up, they're going to be off in a few months, and I'm going to have to start it all again. So that's something that you need to keep an eye on. If you do job hop too much, people don't think it's worth giving you that opportunity, so it can actually put people off.
Yeah, definitely. I reckon every 3 to 5 years people are job hopping at the moment. And
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I'm going to say most employers are quite happy. It depends on your sector, to be honest, but a lot of employers are quite happy with that because companies turn around quite a lot. One company can be making millions one year, be in debt. You see another thing with the banks not too long ago. You see this all the time. You're not having a job for life anymore. And some people will be still in that mindset where you get a job and you've got to stay in it for the whole of your life. And if that's what you want to do, you find a perfect company and they're going for, for 50 years that you're going to be working, then that's great. But often a lot of companies are up and down, and you need to decide, you need to plan your career and how you want your career to develop. So we're going to move on now to like unique selling point. And one of the hardest things in the interview is when you get asked oddball questions. And Chew's going to take this part. We've got some really good strategies that you're going to share with you, so I'm just going to hand you over to Chew.
Okay, thanks. So I'm just going to highlight on 4 things, mainly handling curveball questions, as Lisa mentioned, the questions that curveball questions, the questions you can't really prepare for, the questions that you don't really know the answer for, you can't prepare for, and the importance of asking questions yourself and also expressing your opinion and bringing your A game. So the main thing to understand about curveball questions is that it can be a question that there's no right or wrong answer. They probably don't know that answer themselves. It's just a question they ask to push you on the spot, just to give you a bit of pressure to see how you handle it. That's all they're looking at. So it's basically just pause, avoid flustering. That's the key word. The key thing to remember, don't get flustered just because they ask you some kind of curveball question, and then just provide a reasonable answer. Just pause. There's nothing wrong with taking a moment to think about what you're going to say, gather your thoughts and provide a reasonable answer. Like I said, it can be a question that they don't know the answer themselves. And in the worst case scenario, where you don't know the answer, you can kind of throw it back at them, be like, and show interest. So be like, you know what, I don't know the answer to that question, but I would love to find out. So by doing so, you're showing that you're honest, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We don't know the answer to every question. You're showing honesty, transparency, and you're showing interest, regardless of what the outcome is. You want to know the answer to that question yourself more than anything. So the key things to remember is avoid getting flustered, provide a reasonable answer, and if worst case scenario where you don't know the answer, ask them what it is. So, and that can be very effective in technical questions. They might ask you something technical that you're not aware of, and you can just be like, that's very interesting. How do you do that yourselves? What is it that you do? So that's all it is with regards to questions you can't really prepare for.
Google and Amazon do this all the time. If you ever Google random ask questions, it's always like these big organisations who do it, especially when you're doing like engineering roles, analytical, ITC roles, they ask loads of these types of questions.
Yeah. I've asked them to rephrase it as well, which gives me
That's
a little bit
yes.
of thinking time as well
good.
sometimes. I said, I'm not quite sure what you're getting, just clarify what you're asking me. And then that just gives me a little bit of thinking time to think, what am I going to say next?
Well, do you know what's really good actually? I'm so glad you brought this up, we're going to talk about this. But do you know with generic questions as well? So say you're saying, I don't know, what's your approach to project management as an example? When people ask generic questions, there could be different types of answers you could answer for, and sometimes if you give an answer that's about the outcomes of project management as an example, they might not have been looking for that, they might have been looking for the steps you took. It was really good to ask them a question to get that information so you can answer the right one.
Yeah, that's actually a very good technique to get them to ask the question again, so they'll rephrase it and you get a better, clearer picture of what they're asking for. So here are a couple of examples. What's your definition of a brand? What has been the low light of your career? What does the word insight mean to you? So these are some curveball questions. So I'm just going to give a couple of minutes just to ask someone next to you and see how you handle these questions. Right, so how did you find it, handling these questions?
That's interesting. I just got asked if I had to take 3 things on an island, what would I take?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
See, I think these are the worst questions to be asked, the curveball ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
So if I were to ask Andres, what did you fear the most in your previous job?
Well, I feared most it's what people thought about me, and if I was doing the right thing. So because of that, it took me from doing what I really thought was good for the company, and I was more like preserved.
Right, okay, right. Chris, you ready for your one?
Yeah.
What was the biggest mistake that you did in your previous job?
So what I always do when I get asked these questions, I think first, and we're not prepared this, have we, by the way? Just screams at me. I think like, what do you want to get from that question? So my sector is all about helping people. So just say the question here, fellas.
What was the biggest mistake that you did in your previous job?
I worked in this sector for 15 years helping different people. I had some like really great highs. I also got some lows where there's some people that I've not been able to help. So an example of this was about 4 or 5 years ago. We had this client who wanted to get into the space sector, which is it's a massive new sector that's coming to the UK, 100,000 jobs are going to be predicted over the next 10 years. But at the time, I didn't know anything about it, so I couldn't give the advice, the guidance to support this person with their career. But because I'm so interested in developing my skills, getting the knowledge I need to help my client, the first thing it is, I told the client that I'd get back to him with some really good information about how to get into this sector. The second step I took is I went off and researched loads of different information about this new massive sector, where the funding was coming from, the qualifications you need, the skills you required, and I put all this information in an email for the client, but then I had that knowledge for myself, so next time a client came along, which they did actually, a week later a client came along asking the same question, and I was able to give them that information. So every time I've got a weakness, I research it, I get the skill I need, and I turn it into a strength.
Yeah.
And that's what I do when I've got a client who needs more support from me.
Yeah, that was a very good example where Chris used those techniques, or a combination of those techniques to answer that question. Another very common question that was brought up before is, what's your weakness, or what are your strengths and weaknesses? And then when we talk about weaknesses, people say all sorts of things. Some people say, I don't have weakness, and I say that's a bad answer to give, because no one's perfect. So usually what you can associate that sort of a question with is what sort of a challenge you have faced and how you overcame it. So it's similar to what I just asked Chris. So like for instance, me personally, I used to be afraid of speaking in public. That was my weakness. I used to struggle, I used to be really nervous. So I took up Toastmasters Club, and it's given me so much more confidence in speaking from. So you effectively turned that weakness into a strength, really. So it's just an answer. You don't have to go on about it. So the main thing you got to bear in mind is how I get flustered. That's what they look out for mainly. Right. Moving on to asking questions. Now this is the thing that most people are not very clear of, that interviews are a 50-50 process. Now it doesn't mean to say that you have to ask 50% of the questions. It can be, but you have every right to ask questions. So just like how they're looking for an employee to fill in this role, you are looking for an employee to do the job. So you have every right to ask questions. And people often fear asking questions, thinking that that they won't like it. But companies are proud to answer to any of your questions. And by asking questions, you get a very clear idea of what you're getting into, basically. So what some of the best questions to ask is, ask them about more clarity on your role. What sort of day-to-day activities or what tasks, challenges will I be engaged in on my day-to-day work, and how important is it? What's the real contribution of my role in this for this company? How is it benefiting whatever service or product they're providing? Another very good one is the company's values and principles. So to get an idea of why they're doing this for whatever reason, it's very important for you as a person. I'm going to be working in this company for, could be working there 5 years, 10 years. So it's very important to know what sort of values and principles they have, and they will be proud. They'll be proud of sharing why they bought up the company or whatever it is. Now this is a question they usually ask you. What's your what's your plan for the next 5 years, or what's your vision for the next 5 years? And it's a very good question to ask them. What's your vision for the company for the next 5 years? Again, you get a very good idea of what they're going to do. Are the company, are they not clear? Are they struggling? You just get a very good idea as to what they do. And another very good one is, how did the company handle hardships? So, just like how they will ask you, what was the biggest challenge you did in your previous job or whatever it is, ask them about how they handle a hardship. A very good one is the recession. How did you handle the recession period? Did you cut down on hours to keep costs low? Did you put your staff on half-time, part-time, whatever it is? Just it gives you more than anything. It benefits you more than anything else. Everybody clear on that?
Yeah, I often ask questions about the individuals, about why they chose to join the company.
Yes.
Because I think that's quite interesting sometimes, because people can come from very different sectors going, and I think it's interesting, and why they stay, why they came and why they stay.
Absolutely, and you almost build a very personal rapport when you ask such questions. One of the questions that I asked was, what motivates you, the three directors that in my job, and it's a family company, and that kind of like, whoa, what does motivate us? And all of them said it's our children, so we're in our late stages of our career, we're going to do this for our children so that they can provide for their education and whatever it is. So they were really pleased with that question, and they were very happy answering it because it relates to them personally.
Cheer, just one thing on that, something Chris might know about with this, but from what I understand with this, it's a good idea to ask questions where people answer the question talking about you, where they're almost envisaging you completing that role. So if you ask a question about what opportunities are there, then they're going to say, well, the company's this, the company's that. But if you personalise it and start talking about it, when I do this job, how will I be able to grow, or how will I be able to do this, that and the other? Then they start talking about you and imagining you in that role. So you're sort of psychologically taking them over that line. So it's more likely they're going to start remembering you more as a result of it, because you're not just this candidate all of a sudden.
Yeah, when we talked before about getting the interviewers emotional about you, that's a great question to ask. So one of the ones I teach people to ask, which is the same what you're saying basically, is in the first 6 months of you recruiting me, what will I be doing for you, or what outcomes do you think I'll be able to achieve?
What's my presentations on the first 90 days?
What am
I going to do for your company?
Yeah, that's brilliant that, and especially if you get the interviewer to then answer that question if you weren't doing a presentation.
They're asking me the question.
Well,
that's what my presentation has got to be on. What I would do for your company in the next first 90 days.
I'd use that structure where you state potential problems or goals, and then what you're going to do, and then the perceived outcome. I'd use that. That'd be a really good structure in your presentation. But yeah, asking people to visualise you in the job, doing something really well, it's got a massive emotional impact as well.
How would you phrase that then?
Something similar to like what I said then, where so at the end they say, you get any questions to us, say yes, if you recruited me, we're working successfully together, what outcomes do you think I'll be able to achieve collaboratively with you over the next 6 months? And then they got to think about you being in their company and what you'll be doing, and it gets them to see you doing something positive. It's really powerful stuff, that.
This is what, it's not clear, but I'll read it out. This is what I like to call the golden question, where towards the end of your interview you ask, what other reservations or concerns do you have about my ability to do this role? And that gives you a very clear idea. So usually what happens after job interviews, they'll be like, okay, you'll hear from us over the next couple of weeks, and you don't know what's going on. By asking this question, what are the concerns you have? If they do have questions, any concerns, they would ask them, and you can answer immediately. If they don't, then you get a very clear idea of as to where you stand.
Well, that first interview was to me, my only concern at the very end, my only concern about you would be blah. And then I was able to actually tell them the opposite was true.
Yeah,
so it was lucky for me that she was such a good interviewer.
Yeah.
She said, I imagine you rely a lot on support. And I said, well, no, actually, I've always been self-servicing. She was really surprised.
Yeah.
She thought doing my job, I would always have IT on hand, I'd always have secretaries on hand.
People make stereotypes and they're prejudiced all the time, and it's so good that if they ask you, if they state that great response, you can ask them. It's a bit like your example when you talked about when you let people go as a manager, that you don't give a positive outcome. If they've got any doubts about you, niggle at them, and what you need to do in that interview is close those doubts off, like you said, because people presume their own experience.
So I think you're right, it's probably a good idea to ask the question if they don't.
Yeah.
Do you have any doubts or reservations?
Yeah, definitely.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, it's a must class, I think, in every interview. By all means, do ask towards the end. Now, expressing your opinion. Now, it is critical that you research the company about what they do, their vision, the history, the products, services, whatever it is. It's critical. And what happens is that, let's say you have 10 people for the interview, so you're 10 candidates, and there might be 5 that didn't do as much research, or as Neil said, haven't done anything, and they will be rejected immediately because companies don't like that. But you might get like top 3 that have researched as much as you have done, and they would clearly say what the company does and all that. But what gives you the edge? What you need is to be competitive against those 3. So having an opinion, expressing an opinion, is what gives you the edge. So whatever you've understood and gathered from understanding the company, how it works and what they do, you express an opinion about it. And by doing so, you create a very unique impression about yourself, and they remember you about it. And you usually think on the lines of some sort of constructive feedback for what they do. So you'd be like, I've noticed that you have a website and you advertise on this magazine fair, but I haven't seen you in any trade shows, appearing in any trade shows over the last 5 years. I haven't seen you using social media. So it might be the case that, again, there's no right or wrong answer, so it might be the case that they have tried trade exhibitions and it didn't work, but you would know that it doesn't matter. But you can always say, what about trade shows? Does that promote sales, exhibitions? Using social media, how have you tried that out? How does that work? And some people are like, oh yeah, we haven't tried social media.
Shows you extra knowledge, doesn't it? Your expertise, that you can add value.
I think it's actually looking what they're posting on social. I had an interview earlier this year, and it was quite new, brand new charity, but it was linked to a very big project going on in the maritime world. And I was looking at what they've been doing and how they've been flagging it up, and and it was interesting just to pick it out and that you'd actually done your research. I mean, everybody does it, but then you were talking about it and saying, well, I noticed you've done this on your Twitter feed. How did that work? And
no, it's good. I'm sort of running out of time a little bit, so I want to just finish. Just we've only got like 2 minutes left, if that's okay, Shiva.
Yeah.
Can I just take this chair, Kevin? Thank you. Right, so the last thing I want to do, when I send you the slides and the questions and stuff, I'll send you a video about this technique, which is really powerful. I was going to get you to practice on it, but we are running out of time, so we're just going to demonstrate it. Who's really nervous and anxious about job interviews? So I've got a great technique that in here, in the next 2 minutes, will start to help you be more confident. When you practice at home, it will just flow away your interview nerves. So we just need a volunteer who's a little bit nervous and scared of interviews. Fantastic, welcome, grab a seat, round of applause. So these are the techniques that I use when I'm doing like coaching and hypnotherapy with people. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 meaning you're completely nervous, 1 meaning you're really confident, where are you on that scale for job interviews?
probably about 6 or 7.
Yeah. Okay, 6, 7 is quite high. When you think about interviews, what do you imagine? Do you see yourself going in there, get it wrong, you see the interviewer laughing at you? What picture do you create in your mind?
Getting it wrong, not answering questions right up.
Okay.
Which
Loads of people, when they're scared of something, so phobics do this, aspirers, people anxious at interviews, they generally create an image in their mind which stops them preparing actually, but makes them really nervous on the day. So when they're sat in a car, sat in a bus or a tram going to the interview, they keep thinking about the interview, they think about themselves getting it wrong, being embarrassed, talking too much, all these little different things. But this picture in their mind is so big, it's like a dream, so they're associated to it, they see it from their own eyes, like there, at the interview, at the time. And when you see something that's so big in your mind that it's so associated to, you get all that associated negative feelings, because your mind don't really know what's the real world and what's in your imagination. So what we do, we can change stuff about that imagery, which will reduce your confidence. So when you think about that image, where would you see it? Is it like there in your head, or do you imagine it?
It's been there.
So you feel it, do you?
Yeah, I get butterflies and I'm really...
Okay. I want you to, do you mind closing your eyes while we do this? We'll just make it a little bit more powerful. I want you to think about that thought, about you going into an interview, being really rubbish, failing, I'm going to get rid of it now, failing, you waffling on too long, getting it all wrong. When you think about that picture, I want you to imagine it's right there in front of you. And is it coloured or black and white?
Very colourful.
Is it a moving picture, like a movie or like a photograph?
No, it's moving.
Has it got sound?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is really common. This is when people are really 6, 7s and 8s on that scale. So you need to get that picture in front of your mind, and I want you to imagine pushing it so it's like a foot in front of you, so you can see like the borders of that picture. Can you do that?
Yeah.
And imagine putting a big old frame around it. I like to go to art galleries, and those old-fashioned frames are really like decorative art and really thick, solid wood, solid oak. So put some big frame around it. Can you do that?
Yeah.
And imagine pausing that film so it becomes a photograph. Then just imagine the colour draining from it. Yeah? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel now about that future interview?
Yeah, 3 or 4.
3 or 4? Well, that's good already. I'm going to imagine grabbing that picture in front of you and then moving it further back so it just gets a little bit smaller. How does it feel now?
Yeah.
I'm going to push it right in front of you. How does it feel?
No, a bit scary.
Take it all the way back.
Yeah.
Take it further back. So it's like a postcard size, and further back so it's a stamp.
It seems smaller, so it seems easier to deal with.
Yeah, good. And then so it's a dot on the horizon. And then just let that disappear. And on a scale of 1 to 10 now, when you think about the interview, how do you feel?
Yeah, probably less, a little bit. Yeah.
So that's just like a very quick technique immediately. So when you think about something that's negative, it's always like a moving picture normally. Pause it, move it in front of you, put like a frame or border around it, and then move it further away, because the more you disassociate from it, the less power the anxiety has, so it reduces. Just close your eyes for us again. I want you to imagine yourself being fantastic in interviews. So use your imagination, your creativity, and see yourself being great at the interview, walking in there really confident, saying the right thing at the right time. This is you at your best. Get that picture and make it big and bright, and just bring it really close in front of you. So get that picture, bring it really close in front of you, and imagine being in that interview now. So imagine yourself being confident. What confident things do you say to yourself? Imagine the interviewer responding to you in a confident way, because they know you're the right person for the right job. So think about this and just keep thinking about it, so you can feel those positive emotions in your body and just spin them a little bit faster. Can you do that? Oh, fantastic. So think of that negative picture. I want you to flick it away, then quit. And as you flick it away, I want the positive one to come in. So we're going to do it 5 times, then quit. So negative away, and then positive one in, and then again, negative away, positive one in, negative away, positive one in, and then okay, fantastic. What did you have for tea yesterday?
Pizza.
Pizza. So think of job interviews. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel now?
2 or 3.
Well, that's just in 2 minutes in a dead quick demonstration. So take away the negative one and then respond with a positive. Round of applause.